Good morning, YouTube. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day so far. As I'm sure you could tell by this point in time, unfortunately, this is a teaser video. Sorry about that.
You suck!
It's actually more so to hold myself accountable so that I make this happen in the spring or most likely summertime. So, unfortunately, it's the middle of winter right now, as we can see outside. It's about 8 degrees here in upstate New York. So even if I wanted to make this race happen today, I would not be able to. We've got snow and salt all over the roads, but the beauty of the middle of winter is that's when you start to get your gears turning and start thinking of ideas for videos. So I just wanted to go over the car with you guys, introduce you to it. As you've seen by this point in time, it is a V8 car. I did not buy it with the intentions of putting a V8 in it. I got it off of eBay from Midlothian, Virginia about 14 years ago. I have been through five rotary engines. So in another video, I'll go into the mechanical and technical details of why each one of those had failed. But I did want to touch on it briefly because I know people are going to question it, and you're always going to have purists asking what your intentions were and judging you and yada, yada, yada.
You're a monster!
So to jump into it, after the fifth one had failed, I decided that it was time for a change. The car either needed to go bye-bye or I needed to make it reliable, and here we are. So every one of those rotary engines was professionally built, installed, and tuned by a highly reputable, highly recommended shop in Pennsylvania. So I don't really think it was necessarily an issue with the builder. This guy had been doing nothing but rotaries. He had worked for Mazda prior to opening his own speed shop. The guy's been doing it for 30 plus years. Every time I would go down to the shop, I would see cars there, and mind you, this is in Pennsylvania. I would see cars there with plates from Tennessee, from Texas, from Florida. Guys would come from all over to have their cars built and tuned by this shop. So after having every engine assembled and going through the break-ins, being very methodical, I'm an engineer by trade, so I'm very meticulous with my vehicles, and especially with instructions like break-in and things of that nature. So I don't believe it to be an issue with how the engines were broken in. As far as engine maintenance with the rotary, once again, every single one of them did fail for a different mechanical reason, which is kind of interesting. And then we'll go into the technical reasons and technical details in a future video. But every engine, I ended up changing the oil on. I only drive the car in the summer, so I changed the oil every 1,000 miles. I would change the plugs every 1,500. They were rotaries, so of course they ran rich. And they had 850cc primary injectors, 1,600 secondaries. But I only ever ran high-octane fuel. Anytime I did a high boost tune, I made sure I was running 110 octane race fuel, made sure the car was burning that fuel prior to switching the tune over. I pre-mixed, an ounce of two-stroke oil to every gallon of gasoline for ease on the apex seals. The last engine had 3 mil rotary aviation super seals, which, as people in the rotary community will know, it's a very hard seal. You want to lubricate that in addition to the oil metering pump inside the engine. So the engines were very meticulously maintained, meticulously built. The last engine was kind of a no-expenses spared build, and it lasted around 6,500 miles before sinking both rotors. So I kind of was questioning life at that point. So it's also worth noting I was running a nice flowing front mount intercooler. Intake air temps were always kept in check. I had a dual nozzle water methanol injection system running boost juice. Every time I drove the car, I checked all the fluids before we took it out, oil, boost juice, coolant, things of that nature, and everything was in check. So got gauges, of course, to watch water temperature and oil pressure and all that sort of thing. So bottom line is, I know it's kind of a big nutshell. The car has a V8 in it now. I tried to keep it pure to the rotary roots. And although I think the rotary is a very cool engine, a very cool design, in my opinion and just in my personal experience, they seem to be engines that are designed to be run hard and rebuilt, which, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's a race engine and that's what you do on the weekends, it'll probably serve your purpose just fine. So your mileage may vary, but that was my experience with it. So jump into the V8. The car has it was actually built by a speed shop out west, and it started out life as an LQ4 iron block. So that was a 6 liter. It was punched out, so bored and stroked to a 7 liter, which is a 427. I'm just gonna try to run down the specs that I remember of the engine. I don't have anything here in front of me, but of course 7 liter block. It ended up going with JE pistons, so it's 11-to-1 compressions, scat rods, eagle crank. It's got LS3 Pro Comp ported cylinder heads on it. Obviously got the Fast 102 intake manifold. It's got a Comp Cams LSR camshaft. Don't remember lift and duration off the top of my head, but it's got a little lope to it at idle. So it's got, of course, all of your clevet bearings, all ARP hardware, you know, rod bolts, head studs, GM 6-bolt mains, high volume oil pump, Elgin push rods. It seems to be built pretty well. I did have some issues with the shop that built it, so I won't go into that here. But you know, the bottom line is got the engine, got it broken in, and got it in the car, got it tuned. And as I recall, I was looking for the dyno sheet. I do have it somewhere. We ended up somewhere around a little under 520 to the rear tires, rear wheel horsepower, and 500 pound-feet of torque. So on paper, it's interesting, and I'll throw up the dyno video to my last dyno of the rotary, the 5th rotary engine that I had. That engine made 540 at redline, of course, 540 horsepower to the wheels, but only 415 pound-feet of torque. So again, near redline. So usable power band was not nearly as good and efficient as the V8 is. You've got a lot more area under the curve, so to speak, with the V8 in it. So I'm going to throw up the video to that dyno here. Oops, there we go. 539.6 and 414.6. The thing to note now is the car is objectively faster, torqueier. The 500 pound-feet that it makes, it ends up generating at significantly lower RPMs, obviously, than the rotary, in part because it's a V8, also in part because it's a stroker. So the car is faster now. The fastest I ever went with the rotary was an 1160, and I want to say that was at about 130 miles an hour. That was quite a few years ago, so I'm quoting from memory. I did end up going through my time slips and trying to find my 1160 pass, and I never did find that. I did find my pass from International Raceway Park, which was an 1170 at 124 miles an hour. This goes back, oh God, this goes back like 10 years ago, if not more. So I think right around 10 years ago. So we'll throw up the super HD footage to that video right here. Woo! What's kind of funny about that is my reaction time on that run. I was in reverse. I had deep staged and I started to back up trying to get staged, and I was new to drag racing. I didn't realize that the tree was going to count down anyway. So I was in reverse backing up trying to get staged as the tree started counting down. So I chucked it in first. The Trans Am that I was racing, he got me off the line, and that's why my reaction time was about 1.2 seconds there, but obviously ended up chasing him down. So the car's been 1160 with the rotary in it. Have never run it down the track with the V8. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever it shouldn't run at mid to low, of course traction depending, 10-second pass. I've got, right now I've got Hankook Ventus Evo 2s, I believe they are, all the way around. Or Evo squared, whatever you want to call them. So I've got 285, 35s in the back. At any rate, that is where we're at with the car itself. So the other thing I wanted to ask about in terms of everyone's opinion is the length, the duration of this race. So that's going to be key, because the longer we race, the more the advantage is going to go to the RX-7, simply because the RX-7 is going to keep pulling, whereas this just has one single gear, and that's going to start running out of steam. I completely anticipate the Felony smoking the RX-7 out of the hole, and I'll get into the reasons why here momentarily. So I'm kind of settling in around a distance of about 1/8 mile. Would probably be about the best compromise for advantage not going to one vehicle or the other. Sorry about this horrendously messy garage, by the way. I've got to get to cleaning this out. So I do want to hear in the comments how far, what should the race distance be? It can't be a 1/4 mile, because I don't have any doubt that the RX-7 will eventually chase the Felony down and win. So I think the 1/8 is probably a good compromise. Let me know what you guys think. Of course, safety is paramount, so I've got to find a safe place to do this. So that I'm still thinking about, kicking around ideas, talking to people, and find out where we're going to make this happen. So that all being said, now we'll jump into some details of the Felony here. Here's the sad part, I have not even driven this car. I got it shortly, I think right before Christmas, and obviously being winter time, it's snowy and the roads are terrible, so I've not even driven this. So we're gonna see what it's all about. I did put the 27 tooth high-speed pinion in it, so it does have the high-speed pinion gear, so there's no reason it shouldn't do 80-90 miles an hour. I've seen a lot of videos of people running 90 miles an hour with this gear right out of the box. So just replace the servo horn. Other than that, I also got this nice anodized bearing bracket right here for the center drive shaft, because I guess one of the typical issues that these have is this center bearing that supports the drive shaft ends up getting so hot that it melts the plastic bracket. So I've got the anodized aluminum one to prevent that. So just taking some preventative measures, but got the high-speed gearing in it, and we'll see what it does. So it should do around 90 miles an hour. So the other thing that this has, and I don't have batteries in it right now, is this has what they call AVC, which is, for people that don't know RC, it's active vehicle control. So what'll happen, and I'll grab batteries here and demonstrate it. What'll happen is as the car starts to experience yaw in the back, and the back end wiggles around from a hard launch or loss of traction, the front wheels will automatically adjust. So it'll send signals to the steering servo through the receiver. The receiver has a gyro in it, taking all of your signals from your transmitter, and it'll keep those wheels pointed straight. So and it also will impact your throttle as well. So the active vehicle control is essentially like having launch control and stability control for your RC car. So, and I did actually, on a tangent, to go over to the RX-7, I forgot to talk about computer. This is the other reason why the Felony is going to have a stark advantage off the start. The RX-7 just has a dumb Gen 4 GM computer in it. There is no traction control, there is no form of launch control, stability control, any of that. So it's all in the old right foot. So that makes things very interesting. It's almost equivalent to kind of a Viper, in the sense that it wants to kill you. It has no electronic aids to help you out. So it will be as crazy as you want to be. So no electronic aids, no launch control, nothing fancy in the computer of the RX-7. All kinds of fancy stuff in the Felony. So let me grab some batteries here, and I'll show you how the AVC works, and that will probably wrap up this video. Ta-da! Through the magic of video editing, we now have batteries. So pop the transmitter on here, turn the car on. Good old 6S. Got our Spectrum Smart batteries telling me the charge. So to demonstrate this active vehicle control, you can already see it working. Now right now it's turned up quite high. So as the car experiences yaw in the back end, you'll see no matter how much you try to trick it, it's going to constantly keep those wheels pointed straight. And you can, with the steering command, you can override it at any point in time. Fully adjustable. Turn it off if you want. Whatever you want to do with it. So that's where the advantage is really going to go to the Felony, especially off the line, especially with these super, super sticky tires and four-wheel drive. That's another thing to note for the non-RC people. The RX-7 is, of course, rear-wheel drive. This is all-wheel drive, so a lot of advantages to the Felony off the start. So we will see what happens. Other than that, I'm open to suggestions in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys want to see in future videos. Again, this is to kind of keep me accountable so that I make this happen probably in the summertime. I don't think it'll be in the spring because I've got to run this car first. I've got to actually drive this and get used to it. And, well, I have to get used to it. And truth be told, it'll be somebody else driving this when we race because I will be driving the RX-7. So, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will catch you next time. Take it easy.